Hey YouTube friends, welcome back to Sandals and Steel-Toes. My name is Lex and welcome to the very first garden tour of the 2021 season. So this is my second season doing garden tours and I'm really excited that it's time to kick it off and share this experience with you in our garden this year. The walkthrough I'm about to give you in the following scenes are from May 22nd of 2021. So I like to start off the gardening season with the first tour of showing where everything is at right at the beginning, right before we start to kick off into planting season and harvesting season and all of that. The vegetable garden is still pretty bare at this point in the tour, but already it's been pretty transformed and you'll see that on upcoming garden tour videos. I'm growing here in Northeast Ohio, which is zone 6A, really close to the Lake Erie shoreline. So we have an interesting microclimate here. We get late frost, that's part of the game and part of the experience and the learning that you have to do as being a gardener in this area. Lake Erie has a huge part to play in our climate and the weather patterns here. So always learning, always trying to figure out best practices of how to grow things, and I am excited to bring you along on this tour with me today. So let's go and check things out. Quick pan of the garden, so much to do. This is our compost pile. I've been meaning to take this out for a long time and move it, but I haven't gotten to that yet. So over here in this area is where I had my winter low tunnel set up. It was just made of PVC pipes and painter's plastic, and all of these greens all along here were all there over winter, and they stayed pretty tiny, but then as soon as it started to warm up, everything was growing and looking really great and beautiful. And over there is all the garlic I planted last fall. Now some things in here have already gone to seed. I had some varieties of broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower in here through the winter, which it didn't really produce anything. It pretty much just went to seed. And that happened actually while the low tunnel was still up and in place, and when things were going to seem like, okay, I better take that plastic off because everything's getting too hot. And then we started growing, but there are some really lovely things still in here. This is a red cabbage. I'm really not sure. It's probably not going to grow much bigger, but I'll either leave it here or move it somewhere else because my tomatoes are actually all going to go along here. Landis winter lettuce. And this is the first time I've had any lettuce actually form a head. So these are really exciting. I'm kind of bummed I have to tear them out today, but they're going to go to seed soon if I don't. This is all endive, and it's just like a carpet of fuzzy greens. These are starting to send up seed heads. Paris Island cause romaine. Been really looking forward to having this. We've been picking on it, making salads with the outer leaves. But again, starting to bolt. I'm gonna take the rest of these out and bundle them up and make really beautiful salad bouquets and give them away, since we won't be able to eat all of this before it goes bad. I believe this was a red express cabbage, and this went to seed, and I left it because it's pretty. And look at all of this beautiful chard. And so the really cool thing about this chard is that it's from last year. I purchased a couple starts from a nursery last spring in 2020, and I planted it, and my chard was big and beautiful and it looked amazing all summer last year. It never went to seed, which is really surprising because I thought, you know, in the heat it would have, but no, it did really well. And then in the fall, when I had my low tunnel put up, I went ahead and gently dug up those plants and moved them under the low tunnel so that they had protection over winter, and surprisingly they all lived. They didn't really grow much over winter, but they lived. And then around March late March, early April, they all started to grow again, and they looked really great and beautiful. And so I feel really confident growing chard through, you know, over many years. I have another chard plant, which I'll show you, which was not undercover over winter. It was just a tiny seedling when the snow started to fall, and I just left it and I thought, oh, okay, that's probably gonna die. But it actually didn't die, it lived, and now it's also growing even better than these second-year plants. I tell you all this because it's really nice to know what you can grow in your area, and for where I live in Northeast Ohio, having chard and knowing that it can survive over winter, over the snow, come back in early spring, and then you can harvest it. One of the first greens you can harvest because they're cold hardy, and it's just really great. You can use chard in replacement of like a spinach or kale, so anything you would use those in, raw salad greens, smoothies, soups, sauteed, however you want to do it. Chard's really great for those things, and I really like the taste of chard. I think it's really pretty and beautiful to look at, so spring crop that I would recommend. And like I said, it did pretty well for me last summer. We'll see how these ones go. I'm thinking the second year plants might bolt. Maybe they might be biennials where they go to flower the second year. It's very possible. I have not educated myself on that to know, but I'm sure someone will tell me. Can't get over how beautiful this garlic looks. This is the first time I've grown garlic. It is just amazing. So we're gonna leave these in for probably another month, I think. Haven't sent up any scapes yet. What in the world is this? I did not plant that. That's some kind of, okay, so I got oat straw last year, and that's what I've used in my garden, and I'm wondering if these are oats. That's funny. That's kind of pretty. Maybe I'll leave it. More chard, and lettuce is all in here. We have an abundance of lettuce. And in this little plot section, that was where I had a lot of my fall crops. I had a bunch of carrots and beets, turnips, all in this area. A lot of it I pulled out at the end of the season, but some I did keep in the ground, and I was harvesting in the snow carrots and beets, so that was pretty cool, and turnips. And now that it's getting hot again, everything that I left has went to seed. The turnips have flowered and they look really beautiful. The beets now look like they're going to seed, and even these carrots. So I'll probably see what I can salvage in here, but again, I'm not gonna plan on leaving too much just because I need the space for all of the tomato plants. But this is very interesting. Oh, little frog man, hi. I've never kept beets long enough to let them go to seed, so I find this very interesting to see what they look like. I mean, it's pretty much just like anything else. It's sending up a really long center stalk, forming flower buds up at the top. I don't know, I am curious. I might leave one and just plant tomatoes around it because I am curious to see what these flowers will look like. And these are all turnip flowers. I mean, it has taken over this entire area. It's so funny. All right, so over here is where the asparagus bed is. I've been picking on my asparagus. I missed a couple, these two, and they got too big too fast, so I said, okay, we'll just leave them. But I am trying to pick on the rest that I see come up. And now I want to show you these little menaces that I get on the asparagus. I need this camera to focus on them, but there's these little beetles that are all over my asparagus, and they're laying eggs on them. I had these last year. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's just a little windy, so the breeze keeps taking me out of focus. But these beetles were on them last year. I tried to keep them off as much as possible, but they still persisted. And it's interesting because I did not have these beetles until maybe later in June, when the asparagus had already all gone to seed and the whole bed. So they're all in there now. They're mating and laying eggs, so I need to get out here and get them all off to try and limit this infestation from getting worse year after year. disheartening when you come out to check on your asparagus and you have all these bugs all over it laying eggs, and it's pretty gross. But that's part of the game. I did have some like that yesterday, and I cut them down and I washed them and then I ate them. So they do some damage to your ferns while they are eating and mating on them. We'll say hello to Miss Wilma Pig. So on the lovely, beautiful trellises, I have peas planted all along, different varieties of peas, and they're doing pretty good. I direct sow these around the end of March, and they have really picked up this week, especially on this second trellis. They look really nice. Oh man, just noticing these are all radishes I planted, and now they're going to seed. I don't think they even have bulbs, so that's a little disappointing. Not these are going to seed now. Wow. Much for our spring garden. It's all bolting way too soon before it had a chance to really even grow. I don't know what kind of radishes are in here. I have it all written down, but at some point I figured radishes weren't going to grow, and I put a bunch of lettuce seeds in there, and then the radishes germinated, and then later on all the lettuce germinated, so I have all this lettuce mixed in. So that looks kind of cool. I actually been moving and transplanting some of them. Things are bolting so fast. And then I have onions all throughout my different beds. I bought a lot of onions and I started a lot of onions, so we'll have lots of onions this year. Now, radishes on this bed look okay. They're not bolting yet, so that's good. So you guys just keep growing, please. But the peas, look how beautiful. Look how beautiful our peas are looking. So I mentioned a Swiss chard that had been in my garden over winter, and this is it. So this plant here was just a tiny little seedling that I put in, I know, maybe in September, and it didn't grow much, and over winter I left it, and I figured it would probably die, but I left it to see what would happen. And then once it warmed up, here we go. We've got this beautiful chard plant looking great and happy with some massive leaves. Like, look next to my hand. These are huge. Great for lettuce wraps. That's what I'm saying. I did a lot of experimenting over winter with leaving a lot of my roots in the ground and having the garlic planted and having a low tunnel just to see what would happen. And you know, I was greatly surprised with a lot of it. Now in here I do have radishes that I've been harvesting. So I've got the French breakfast, and those have been pretty good, and a white variety, maybe white icicle, can't quite remember. And I did also plant some watermelon radishes in here. I think that's what's on this side, but they're not quite up yet. So these have been good. I've been picking on these the last few days, so a lot of them do need to come up because they're starting to get woody. And over here is a tiny rhubarb plant. I got 2 rhubarb bare roots from Lowe's early this spring. I planted them. It appeared only one came up because I had one here and one over here, and that one didn't come up. But this one is growing, so I'm excited that we'll have rhubarb next year. There's a carrot that let itself grow from last spring. I'm just leaving that one now. And I have a whole bunch of baby beets in here. That bunch need to be separated. In this garden, I'm gonna try and fill in all the spaces throughout the next couple weeks. I had some garden plans in my head of what I wanted to do, and we keep acquiring things. So I've been wanting a greenhouse, and we acquired a structure that can be made into a greenhouse last weekend. So we're gonna put that up in the garden someplace, because my plan will be to keep chickens in it over winter. My husband called yesterday saying that a friend of his bought a house and it has a greenhouse that they don't want, and so they're gonna be selling that one, and that's more of like a glass structure greenhouse. I'm like, okay. So I have to think about where I want to put these things, if they're going to be in the garden or not in the garden, because I have like things like corn that I need to plant soon, and I need the space for it. So I am not complaining. I'm just trying to problem solve where everything is going to be put. We had wanted to build a window greenhouse this year, but because wood prices are so ridiculous, we're not going to do that. I have all the windows, but the lumber is just way too much. So if I'm able to find other greenhouse options this year, that would be great. I would love to be able to start more plants throughout the year and sell things and utilize that. So this whole section of the garden is pretty empty still. These fence panels that we have all along here are getting taken down today, and we're gonna reassemble them out there by the chicken coop, because we have 3 birds out there now, but we have 15 more littler birds in the brooder still in our barn, and we need a enclosed place for them. So we'll be doing some reconfiguration of the chicken yard area so we can get those baby chicks out. And my plan is all of this bare space that is going to be through here is all going to be tomatoes. I have about 50 tomato plants, all different varieties that I need a lot of space for. Peppers I got to put in. We're going to do some varieties of melons and squashes, so lots of work to be done in here. I'm thinking that this section over here is where one of my new greenhouse things will go. Trying to figure out where that's going to be placed so I can till up another spot so I can plant corn. I know I'm behind on all of that, but that's okay. I'll just get corn later in the year. I do want to show you this beautiful Eden climbing rose, and I cannot wait for this to bloom. So I have it growing on either side of this trellis, and it's gonna climb and get big and hopefully take over the entire thing. My niece is named Eden, so when my mom found these roses last year, she was like, you gotta get them. You gotta get them. You know what daughters do, they hem-haw around their mother's suggestions and like, I don't know if I want to spend the money on it. But she talked me into it, and I got some blooms last year. They were absolutely gorgeous, and now that these are growing, oh man, it is going to be stunning. So really excited for how that's gonna look. What in the world? I've got some serious weed problems over here. But I do have a beautiful calendula growing. Now let's go over here. So if you go back a couple videos, you'll see me planting potatoes. And I did that in early March. And hey, guess what? All my potatoes are growing and they look beautiful. They're growing so well and now so quickly that I need to get them covered with some straw, but they look really nice. So that was one of those things I was talking about on the day I planted all these potatoes. I planted a whole mess of potatoes when it was still pretty cold out. I didn't know if they would grow, and I was kind of like, if they don't, I'm not losing out any money, because they were just all seed potatoes that I had left over from last year from my garden, from my potato harvest. And we had frost after they were planted and had little sprouts coming up, and they all got damaged, and those didn't make it. But new sprouts all came up. I'm gonna have potatoes, I don't know, probably by like July, I think, maybe sooner. So it's really exciting that, again, try something. I was like, if it fails, whatever. And it didn't fail, and I've got food that much sooner. So, super cool. On this section of the garden, it's still work in progress, but I've got 2 of these beds made, and I've got a bunch of lettuce all kind of along the side here, different varieties. Most of it was what was growing on my other side of the garden, and I moved it. We have a lot of these lettuces, a bunch of weeds over here. I was thinking of put my peppers over here. I haven't quite decided that, but I'll figure it out today. Lettuce and lettuce and lettuce. A lovely nasturtium. And I planted some celery, pink celery transplants. And they look like they might not make it. Yeah, that one looks pretty pathetic. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, oh look, are those the marigolds? Are the marigolds finally coming up? I've been waiting to see when we would start getting marigolds over, because like I said, I had them everywhere last year. And I have so many seeds that I saved, but I haven't started one. But look, I think they are coming up for me. Thank you, marigolds, because I did not want to have to buy or start any. Very good, very good. So over on this bed is one of my early spring beds that I planted. Mostly kale, some lettuce varieties, and onions that I started, and this bed has been looking pitiful for a really long time. It did not want to grow, and I've been putting kelp, organic kelp fertilizer on it. I've been putting fish emulsion fertilizer on them. I'm trying to water more regularly, and then within the last week and a half, everything is starting to grow. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the heat that we're having, kind of giving it a boost, but at the same time I'm worried that it's gonna bolt, because I've not been able to really enjoy any kale because it's been so small. I think I can start picking on it now, but a lot of this space where I plant things, they died or didn't come up, so I've got definitely room in here to add more. Bed here is going to be all full of different kinds of flowers and herbs. I wanted a really lovely flower bed at the front of my garden this year. I've got nasturtium in here. I think I have a volunteer sunflower. I have some cosmos, fennel, cumin planted, dahlias. So I'm going to keep filling this space in with more flowers and herbs. I think I'm going to put some chia seeds. I've got a bunch of chia seeds in my cupboard, so I'm going to throw them in here. Chia flowers are actually really pretty if you look them up. So I would just want this to be a beautiful display of color. And then lastly, let's see what we got over here. Our raspberry row. So that is humongous and looking good. Actually, we're starting to get some little buds. So that's exciting. We'll have raspberries probably beginning of July. And then over here are all of my row covers. So Carmen built these beautiful row covers for me this spring for all of my spring plants. So if you go back to the video of all the seedlings that were in my house, these are them. And we planted them. Now, some things don't look so pretty. I've had a slug problem. They've been coming in and nibbling, and but again, a lot of this stuff stayed really small for a really long time, and then last week it just started growing, which I was excited to see. But then some things are starting to bolt and go to seed. You can see in there that it's starting to form. So this is Purple Lady Bok Choy. So beautiful. I'm a little disappointed about all the holes in them, but still pretty. This is Toy Choy. You can see how big those get. That's about full size. These are ready to come up. And I have broccoli put in randomly throughout, because I knew once these cabbages and stuff were coming up, the broccoli might have some time to keep growing. But we have more Swiss chard in here. Beautiful kohlrabis. Oh, and look, this is exciting. Starting to get a root. Oh, yay. I've been waiting for those. Wondering when they start to get a circle root. A bulb. And they are. And these are leeks. I know it looks like grass, but they're leeks. So over in this one, yeah, this is, I've got Waltham broccoli, and again, it's been so hot, it's already starting to go to seed and form a head, and they're not going to be big enough. Actually, these covers here, they hold in a lot of heat, and I think it's just been getting way too hot, because I keep these shut for the purpose of keeping the cabbage moths out, because the cabbage moths are going to come along and lay eggs on all these brassicas. So I've been trying to keep them out, but in doing so, it's been getting really hot in here, and these broccolis are putting heads out already, and they're not big enough. But that's how we learn, so I'll have to think of another method for next time. But still, lots of Chinese cabbages. That's a lot of what I grew this spring, is Chinese cabbages. And this one's looking really nice now. Again, I need to pull a lot of these out because they're full of holes and they're bolting. And then finally down on this one, what are those called? I'm gonna have to look up to see what these ones were called specifically. The bok choy. Theme of the day, theme of this tour is spring garden gone to seed. So as much as these beautiful plants are, I'm gonna have to take them out today, otherwise I won't have my harvest. I think this is a sunflower. That would make sense. I had sunflowers over here last year. I don't know. It's so hard to know what things are plants that you want or weeds. So like, look, got a marigold and spinach all in here. Very pretty. Bunch of weeds mixed in. At least have our documentation here of the beautiful cabbages and the bok choys. And this section is kind of ugly, but I've got some Brussels sprouts that had made it through our several frosts after they were planted, and kale. So this is all doing actually pretty good. It's coming up. I'll probably move a lot of it because this whole section is turned into weed land. So a lot to be done in the garden. I'm gonna be really busy today. I've been waiting for the warm weather and for a day that I can get out here and just get stuff done. So that's my plan for today. But I do want to show you around all the beautiful flowers and perennials that are all coming up. And super excited about a lot of these because they're so beautiful and pretty. Yes, look at these beautiful flowers. Oh my. These are all lupine. Look how beautiful these are. I'm so excited. These are one of my favorite flowers, lupine. I have been growing these for maybe 4 years now and been moving them around my yard to try and find the best spot for them. And I found it. And this is my this is my septic tank garden. So the lid of my septic tank is below this space. And I put a garden here on purpose so we always remembered where it was. You know, sometimes it's can forget the exact position. And so yes, this will have to be dug up at some point when we have to do our next clean, but the plants that grow here are just amazing, and these lupine are amazing. I'm so excited about how nice they look this year. Also amazing. And the garden over here is just bursting, which is so weird compared to last year. It was pretty small at this time. But like, man, this is my herb spiral. Let me step back so you can see it. And it is just completely wild already. I've got oregano in here and thyme, mint, chives, and parsley. I've got rue, which I don't really use. Tarragon. I mean, look at this tarragon. It's insane. It's huge. I don't really ever use the tarragon. It just comes back every year. And then this mess of white flowers is all the arugula. I had all this arugula that reseeded and survived over winter and grew and came up in the spring, and it went to seed really early and has completely taken over the space. There's some flowers in here, and then the sage, all of the sage is about to flower, and they'll have really beautiful purple blooms. It is completely a jungle in here. I've got cilantro that reseeded, and has gone to seed as well. So my herb space is just crazy right now. But all the irises are out and they're so pretty, and the lilies are all coming up big. So I've got lilies everywhere. They're all gonna be growing really soon. I have cosmos again that I planted all around. Check out the bleeding heart. Look at her beauty. So this is another favorite. Oh my goodness. It is gorgeous. And surprisingly still doing okay in the heat. I wasn't sure. I know bleeding hearts like cool weather and our heat's been something, but it's still kicking. Still kicking. So we're doing good. We're doing good with the bleeding heart. So in this bed over here last year, I did a really great job of like cleaning it up and separating out a lot of the flowers, and I've got mint that grows in here. I did not plant this mint. This mint was here when we bought our house 5 years ago, and the mint persists, and I have pulled it out every single year. I pulled the mint out and it comes back every single year. It's a really nice smelling mint, but you know, mint is that bully that takes over. So this year I have not cleaned up the mint yet. I need to. I kind of like the crazy wild look of this space. I have evening primrose flowers in here, so they're gonna start blooming soon. They're really beautiful yellow flowers. But this is like crazy little garden space right now. Got beautiful clematis. Look at her. She's so lovely. But look, we are about to get peonies. Oh my goodness. This is completely filled with buds, so this is going to be stunning very soon. Very, very soon. You know, you can't have a garden without weeds, including dandelions. But our Manu puppy that we had to put down, he was 12. Our sweet neighbor got this for him. Just a little memorial block here in the garden for Manu. Oh my, I disrupted someone. Ew, there's always so many ants over here. Over here is another climbing rose. So this one is doing well. Also, Westerland rose. That's what it will look like. This plant from the Lowe's clearance section last year. It was about to die, so I took it and saved it and replanted. Strawberries here are just huge. I mean, just looking back compared to last year, these plants are so much bigger. So much bigger. I mean, this is the second year in this bed, but I've also been fertilizing them with the liquid kelp and the fish emulsion, and they have been loving it. And I've got so many berries coming on. So many. And then over here, these are all of my plants that I'm planting today. I mean, I've been watering these. This pepper plant, oh, he's not looking so happy. I've been picking the flowers off of them. All my 50 plus tomato plants. I've got so much here, a lot to do. More onions and petunias I've started. I mean, I've just got plants everywhere that I need to get in the ground. And over here are all the tomato plants left over from my sale last weekend, last Saturday. I wish the sale had happened today because these plants look so much better than they did last week. Last week, since it was like the first warm week and getting them outside, they were still pretty small. They've been out here for a week now and they just look so much better than they did last week. Probably would have had a better turnout if it were today. But I'm still trying to get rid of these ones, giving them away to people. The garden as it stands today, and whew, So much to do, so much to talk about. I could probably sit here and just show you everything for hours. I have a lot of work to get done, and today is the day to get it done. Saturdays are the day to get things done during the week. So I am going to depart with you here, my friends. Thanks for watching this video, watching and staying updated with me this summer. The garden is going to be so big and beautiful, and I cannot wait. By August, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. So I hope you keep up with me this season, and I hope to see you back. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Thank you so much for watching, and please do something you love today. Take care, everyone. Bye.